Hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar series event sponsored by KPI Partners. Today's topic, Fixed Asset Analytics for Oracle BI, will be presented by Pavan Nanjundaya from KPI Partners. Pavan is a principal consultant at KPI Partners with over 7 years of professional experience working with Oracle E-Business Suite and Oracle BI applications. Prior to joining KPI, Pavan worked with Oracle. Currently, he is implementing the Oracle BI applications at Amazon.com. If you want to find out more about KPI Partners or how we can assist your organization with Oracle Business Intelligence, please contact us through our website at kpipartners.com. I will now pass it to Pavan, who is currently in Seattle. Pavan?
Thanks, Jeremiah. Welcome to the demo on Fixed Asset Analytics by KPI Partners. Let's get started with the presentation first, and here's the agenda for the day. We'll talk about what are fixed assets, what are fixed assets analytics. We'll look at some typical business questions and requirements. These are typical questions that any customer who's using assets will have. We'll see how our product can help the customers answer these typical questions. Then we'll get into the demo where I'll walk you through the dashboards and reports that we have built for fixed assets. Finally, we'll wrap it up with a Q&A session. Okay. So the first question is, what are fixed assets? Fixed assets, nothing but a module in any ERP system which captures the complete life cycle of an asset. Let's take a real-life example to understand this better. Let's say I have a manufacturing company, and as a part of my daily operations, I use or own buildings, land, machinery, some vehicles. All these can be categorized as assets for my company. Let's take a particular scenario to understand this in a little more detail. So let's say I buy a truck for my company. Now, this truck will be classified as an asset in my company, and let's say I purchase this truck for, say, $10,000. Now, the initial cost of $10,000 is the cost at which I purchased the truck. But as I continue to use this truck, the cost of the truck decreases or depreciates. Say, after 2 years, the cost of the truck, which started at $10,000, could be something like $8,000. So what has happened is the cost of the truck is reduced by $2,000. This is very similar to our day-to-day example. Like if I purchase a car from a showroom, the cost of the car in the showroom can be $20,000, but once it comes out of the showroom and once I start using the car, the cost of the car reduces. That is because the asset has depreciated. Getting back to my truck example, let's say I use the truck for 10 years. After 10 years, the truck just wears out, and then I decide, okay, it's no longer fit to be used. I decide to discard this truck. What I'm doing is I'm retiring my asset. So in this specific example, where the truck was initially purchased at $10,000, and after 10 years, it was retired at a particular cost, which covered the complete lifespan of my asset, is what is captured in fixed assets or assets in a customer's business. Now, this asset information need not be specific to any particular line of business. For example, a customer who's into, say, electronics business or automobiles or even oil and natural gas will need to track his assets. So anybody who wishes to track their assets will be using or tracking their assets in this module. Now, we got an overview of what are fixed assets. Let's try to understand the data flow in fixed assets from a particular ERP system point of view. Let's say if Oracle E-Business Suite is the source system, this is how the information would flow into fixed assets and out of fixed assets. So the big rectangular box is the fixed asset, which is captured as a module in the ERP system. The blue boxes on the top and the bottom are the different sources from which data gets pumped into fixed assets. Now, projects, payables, these are different modules in E-Business Suite. These act as source for my fixed asset module. On the same lines, I can even import assets from my legacy system or even an Excel sheet or an ADI tool. Users can key in assets manually. So these are different sources which feed data into my asset system. We'll get into the details of how projects, payables, and other modules are integrating with fixed assets in the demo, where I'll show you the reports which help us better understand this data flow. So once the data enters the fixed assets module, What happens is the typical activities that an asset undergoes in a source system, that is maintenance of an asset. When I say maintenance of an asset, there are varieties of activities. Like if I take the truck example from the previous screen, say I purchased the truck for $10,000, but I had to make some adjustments to my truck. In the sense, I purchased new parts for my truck, which are nothing but adjustments to an existing asset. Or I purchased the truck for my California office, but I had to move it to my New York office for some reason. So the asset is getting transferred from one location to the other. So on the same lines, there are varieties of activities that happen in the life cycle of an asset, which gets tracked in the fixed assets. Then depreciation is, of course, a common thing that happens to any asset. Depreciation is nothing but the loss in the cost or the actual price of an asset because of its usage. Finally, just like any other subledger module, you would close the period, accounting period at the end of that particular fiscal period and transfer the information to general ledger. And fixed asset follows the same model. So we can clearly understand how the information flows into fixed assets and how it flows out of fixed assets, and what are the other modules that are interacting with fixed assets. Now, let's try to answer the second question. What are fixed assets analytics? In fact, before we get there, the bigger question would be, what is OBIA, or Oracle's Business Intelligence application? This is a pre-built best practice analytics provided by Oracle, which supports different functional areas of a customer. When a customer purchases this product from Oracle, they can use it to manage their finance, human resource, procurement, and supply chain processes in their company. OBIA is a great product, but it has a few gaps, if I can say that. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say if a customer is tracking his assets in the ERP system, like an EBS source system, OBIA does not provide any analytical solution for assets module. So that is clearly a gap where customer who's purchased OBIA cannot use the product to its maximum because the functionality is not provided in OBIA product. And that is where KPI Partners come into picture. We have built a product called Fixed Assets Analytics, which is based on the best practices recommended by Oracle, and customers can use this product to manage their assets more efficiently, more from a BI or business intelligence point of view. Now, we were talking about various things here. We spoke about fixed assets. We spoke about Oracle E-Business Suite. We spoke about Oracle Business Intelligence, the product given by Oracle. And then we spoke about what KPI Partners have built, that is the fixed asset analytics. But how do all of these integrate? How does the data flow between these products is what the next slide is going to show us. So in the landscape, we are trying to show how the existing source system would integrate with a BI system. So the big rectangular box at the bottom is the Oracle E-Business Suite. That is the EBS, or the source system that customer would use. Oracle Business Intelligence is the product that Oracle provides. So a customer purchases this product for their BI analytics. Now, clearly, OBIE, that is the Oracle's Business Intelligence product, talks to E-Business Suite, which means there is data flow, and this integration is seamless. There is no problem with that. Now, customer also uses a module called Fixed Asset module, which comes with Oracle E-Business Suite. Now, here's where the business users would enter their everyday assets. They would do their retirement. They would run their depreciation. So this is a module in the source system which captures the complete information of customer's business. As you can see on the screen, we have a source system with a particular module to track assets. We have a business intelligence tool given by Oracle, but there is nothing for the analytics on this fixed asset module. Clearly, there is a gap, and that is where our product comes into picture. Our product, Fixed Asset Analytics, integrates with the existing Oracle's Business Intelligence product. At the same time, talks to the fixed asset module in the E-Business Suite. Thereby, customers can use the complete package to analyze their asset information from a business intelligence point of view. So this entire package seamlessly integrates, and customers can use their source system, that is Oracle E-Business Suite, and Oracle Business Intelligence product given by Oracle with the integration of our fixed assets analytics. Now that we have a clear understanding of where fixed assets analytics fits into the whole scheme of things, let's try to understand this in a little more detail and understand what are the different features provided by this product. It is a pre-built solution which comes with the following. It increases the efficiency by giving a better visibility to additions and retirement information. Now, any customer who tracks their assets would like to understand how many assets did I add or how many assets did I retire in this period, or say for a particular location, for a particular book. Now, these typical questions can be answered using the fixed assets analytics. The product also captures the asset history information and helps in point-in-time analysis. This is very useful information because if I just go back to my truck example, the lifespan of the truck was 10 years. In the lifespan of 10 years, there are varieties of activities happening on that. You purchased the truck, you did a bunch of adjustments, you transferred the truck, let's say you go ahead and reclassify the truck, then finally you would retire a truck. As a fixed assets manager, I would like to understand 5 years back on this particular date, what was happening on this truck, or what were the different adjustments that have happened in the span of 10 years. So we want to do a point-in-time analysis of my asset information, which is exactly what the fixed asset analytics product would let you do. It provides a comprehensive view to users and fixed asset managers. So it's not just the top level business folks in the company, but even the fixed asset managers and the day-to-day business users can really use the product to increase the efficiency of their asset handling in the system. It provides ad hoc capabilities. The product not only comes with pre-built dashboards and reports, but it also provides the feasibility to users where they can build their own reports. It's a common business requirement where business users would like to create their own report because they would like to choose their particular columns and metrics and not use the pre-built report every time. If that is the requirement, the product exactly answers that question because it is robust enough to support any ad hoc capabilities requested by the users. Finally, it integrates with projects and other finance modules. As I was showing in the data flow slide, the product clearly integrates with Oracle projects, Oracle payables, procurement to some extent, and finally with general ledger. So we'll get into more of the cross-functional reports and analysis in the demo. But for now, we'll just understand that the product very well integrates with the existing ERP structure in the customer's business. Supported platforms. The product works perfectly fine with 11i and Alpha versions of eBusiness Suite. From a BI apps point of view, it works fine from 7960 through 7963 on Windows, Linux, and Unix platforms. OBI point of view, it works fine from versions 10.1341 through 11G. Demo. Now, before I get into the demo and start showing you the reports, let's quickly look at some typical business questions that users or a company can have. Now, these are questions that anybody would like our product to answer, and that is exactly what we deliver. So, common questions could be, how many additions, adjustments, and retirements have occurred? A very common question where anybody would like to track their basic assets, at the same time understand the counts and amounts tied to these metrics. So when I say I've retired 100 assets in my system in this period, I also would like to understand what is the accumulated retirement cost that is tied to these assets. What is the depreciation and net book value in my asset books? Again, depreciation and net book value go hand in hand. Net book value is nothing but what is the cost of the asset as of today. So the truck which costed me $10,000 on day one was worth only $2,000. Was worth only $8,000 after 2 years, which means after 2 years, the net book value of this asset was $8,000. So we have built reports which will exactly help customers to analyze this set of information. Can I reconcile general ledger with fixed assets? A very common requirement with the financial folks. This is a common requirement because at the end of every period, once the information is transferred to general ledger from my sub-ledgers like fixed assets or payables or receivables, users would like to ensure that everything has got transferred correctly and there are no reconciliation differences. So we have built specific reports keeping this requirement in mind so that business users can actually tally their GL numbers with FA and ensure there are no reconciliation differences. how many project-related assets were added in my system. So let me give a common business scenario to explain this. I was talking about a scenario where I have a manufacturing company where I own, say, land, buildings, machinery, and vehicles. So let's say if my company is into construction business and I'm constructing a new building, and if this construction of a building is captured as a project in my Oracle system. As a part of constructing a building, I need to procure so many items. So these items are classified as assets procured as a part of a particular project. So any customer would like to understand, okay, I do a lot of projects in my company. As a part of these projects, how many assets did I procure? What were the costs of these assets? And various other asset-related information. So these are the typical questions which will be answered in the demo that I'm going to show you now. Okay, so these are the different dashboard pages that we have built for fixed assets. Before I get started with the demo, a point of observation here. So this is more of a mock-up data, which means the numbers may not really make sense because this is just data that we have created for demo purpose. What we need to understand is the functionality provided by each report, and does it really answer the business questions that are posed as requirements to us. So on the top, what you see is what we call the prompts. Prompts are nothing but different dimensions to analyze the asset information. For example, the ones highlighted in orange are date or period related prompts. We have defaulted it to 2011, that is, I'm analyzing the asset information in my system for the year 2011. On the same line, you could analyze the asset information, say, for a particular book. I want to analyze my asset information for a particular tax book. If that is a requirement, you just need to choose your book from the book type list of values here, and it would show you the information for the specific book that you've selected. On the same lines, you could analyze the information for a particular asset number or for a particular project. Okay, now let's get into the reports. The first two reports are more of a cross-functional or cross-domain reports. In the previous slide, we saw a requirement where users wanted to understand how do I reconcile general ledger with fixed assets? Is it really possible from a BI tool? Yes. These two reports are built specifically keeping that requirement in mind. The first report is fixed asset cost by category. By category, these are the categories you would create in your general ledger for a source of fixed assets. So as you can see in the name, those categories are created specifically to handle asset information because they are handling information like additions, adjustments, CIP additions, adjustments, etc. So what we are showing in the report is for the year 2011, by category, here are your different fixed asset costs. For example, we are saying that in 2011, my company has added assets worth over 27 million and they are recognized in the category additions. Let's get into some details of this to understand what were those assets. In the details screen, you will see that we've landed on a page which is showing me asset level information. So the previous screen was showing me GL information, and by doing a drill down, I've actually drilled down from GL to fixed assets, which is a great way of reconciling because I'm not only looking at GL detail information, I'm also able to track the different assets from fixed asset system, which made up that additions number of over 12 million in the previous screen. In the asset summary screen, we show basic asset information like asset number, description, what type of asset was that, when was it placed in service, to which book does it belong. Not only are we showing asset information, we are also showing the accounts payable invoice number that is linked to that asset, what was the project that was tied to this asset. So clearly, this gives me the transaction level information in assets which corresponded to the 12 million number that we saw in the previous screen in general ledger. Let's look at the second report, which is nothing but the top 5 fixed asset account balances. So these are the different GL accounts that I have created in my general ledger to handle the account fixed asset information. Now, since this is a markup data, I have just created accounts which make sense from a fixed asset point of view. Say something like buildings. Now, buildings is a GL account which is showing me a balance of over 57 million for the year 2011. This is good information, but I would still like to understand the details of this. So what I do is I click on the buildings, which takes me to the details of this. So this detailed report brings me to GL journal level information. So the previous one took me all the way to the subledger, but this report from a GL balance takes me to GL journal. In GL journal detail, we show basic information at a journal level. We are showing that for a particular period, say week 13, 2011, the GL account number was so-and-so, account description. The journals belong to a category of accounting systems with a batch source of spreadsheet, and the actual journal came with this description for an amount of 39 million. So as you can see on the screen, the first two reports really help users to start off from GL and either drill down all the way to fixed assets or go all the way to the GL journals to understand the asset flow in general ledger. Let's get into the third report, which is asset additions and adjustments. Now, from here on, we'll try to focus more on the fixed asset and how projects and payables are integrating. The third report tells me how many assets have I added or adjusted in my system and gives me a breakdown by week. So the tabular report, what you see on the left, tells me that by week, my company has added so many assets in the system. Let's take a particular week to understand this information in detail. And if you remember the business requirements we were talking earlier, one of the first requirements was how many assets did I add or adjust in my system. So this report is exactly answering that question. So let's say I take week 26 where it tells me I have added or adjusted over 12 million worth of assets in my system. Let's get into some details of that report. Okay, so in the additions page, I have totally 3 reports. Let's start with the first report on the left. The first report is the project summary report. Project summary report is telling me that there were about 6 to 8 projects in my company which resulted in an addition or an adjustment worth of 12 million in my system. So what we are getting into is the integration of projects and fixed assets. So here are the different projects that my company is currently handling, of which let's say I take a particular project and we call it KPI Max as the project name. So let me open this particular project and see how can I break down the asset information at project and task level. So this page gives me information only for the particular project that I have selected. On the left is a narrative view which tells me the project that you selected in the previous screen was KPI Max. It is a project which involves some remodeling that's happening in my company, and the total project cost is over 2 million. So to give a summary information on, say, what are projects or how are tasks tied to project, let's go back to the previous example where I was saying construction of building is considered as a project in my company. If construction of building is a project, painting the building or say doing interiors for that building are different tasks that are tied to construction of a building, the project. Now, as a part of painting my building, I have to procure some assets. Let's say, as a very simple example, I have to buy some paintbrushes or rollers. If I recognize paintbrush as an asset in my company, this paintbrush was procured to fulfill a task of painting which belonged to a project of construction of a building. So there you go. You started off with a project, you broke down the project to task level, and then you have actually identified assets which can be related to individual tasks in a particular project. The same information is shown in the report on the right side. The task detail report is nothing but breakdown of the different tasks which belong to this project KPI Max and what were the different assets that were created for each task. If you look at the first row, we are saying the project name is KPI Max, the task number is 1031, the task has a description and type, but it is tied to a particular asset, which means if I pull up asset 224499 in my system, I will know that asset cost was $390 and it was purchased for this specific task of a particular project. On the same lines, you have few more tasks, say like a 10531 is another task in my project, and that resulted in the procuring of this asset, which was worth over 281,000. So as you can see on the screen, asset information closely integrates with projects to the extent you can break it down at the task level information of a project. So that actually also answers another business requirement where users wanted to understand, okay, how many assets did I add in my system because of projects? The report what we saw in the previous screen exactly is built for that specific requirement. We are back on the overview page, but I would like to also show you a few of the reports that we built on the addition screen. So let me go back to that page. So we just saw what project summary report can do. The report on the right is called the asset category. Categories are nothing but different classifications of assets in my company. For example, in my manufacturing company, I have, let's say I own automobiles. Then automobile becomes a category of assets where trucks, cars, bikes, these are subcategories of my category automobiles. On the same lines, if hardware is a category, the servers, the computers that I purchase for my company would get classified as assets that belong to that particular category. So on the same lines, we are breaking down the additions and adjustment information, what we saw in the previous screen, by different categories. So FFE could be something like a furniture and fixture. This is lease improvement. Let's say there is a defer as another category. So we are saying that, okay, I have added over 10 million worth of assets and furnitures in my company in the previous quarter. So that is how we can break down additions information by category also. The third report is the asset summary report. So from here on, we get into the actual details of assets and understand how depreciation and net book value works. So this report is just listing all the assets in my company, which resulted in the additions or adjustments of 12 million in the overview page. I'm showing basic asset information like asset number, description, the date, place, and service, the AP invoice number tied to it, and the actual asset cost with the project name. Let's open up one particular asset and understand this asset in detail. So we are talking about a particular asset with a number 214993. It is a capitalized asset belonging to my corporate book, and the cost of the asset is 31,000, and it belonged to an AP invoice of $64,600. On the right side is the transaction detail or the transaction history report. If you remember in the presentation, I was talking about a scenario where the fixed asset analytics can capture point-in-time information. So that information can be displayed using this report. Since this is a markup data, we are just showing a couple of rows where we are saying that for this asset 214993, there were about 2 adjustments that have happened in 2010. If there are, if I have to relate this back to my truck example, say after 10 years after the lifespan of the truck, if I pull up the truck asset on the screen, I would probably see 4 or 5 different lines, each pointing to a particular point in time activity in the lifespan of that particular truck. So this helps users to analyze the history of the asset and understand what were the different activities that have occurred in the history of that particular asset. The third report is the depreciation detail. This is extremely useful information because the graph on the left side tells me, it gives me a complete history of how this asset has depreciated. If you look at week 1, we are saying that the cost of the asset or the net book value of the asset was 167,344. But if you look at week 32, the cost or the net book value of the asset has decreased to 134,760, which means the asset has been depreciating with time, and because of that, the net book value has been decreasing. Let's just try to understand the same information in a tabular format. So the same asset in week 1, the depreciation amount is a 1087. Now, for simplistic purposes, I've taken a straight line depreciation here, which means the asset continues to depreciate with the same amount every period. It's a straight line. Now, week 1, the depreciation amount is 1087. The depreciation reserve, this is nothing but the accumulated depreciation. And the accumulated depreciation in week 1 is 2173, and the net book value is 167,344. If you look at, say, week 19, The depreciation amount remains the same, but the depreciation reserve has increased. That is because the net book value is decreasing. So if you try to relate this to a car or a truck example we were talking earlier, the cost of the vehicle keeps decreasing with time, and because it is decreasing, the amount of depreciation accumulated, that is my depreciation reserve, keeps increasing. Finally, in my week 31, you will see that the depreciation reserve has hit a max of 35,000, which started from 2,000, and the net book value of the asset has come down to 135,000, which was at a 167,000 in week 1. So clearly, this report is used, or customers can use this to understand the depreciation pattern and the net book value trend for any asset that they have created in their system. Let's get back to the overview page and understand the retirement information now. The fourth report on the page is the asset retirement report, where we try to understand the cost of retirement broken down by period. So the tabular report tells me by week what was the cost retired, and the same thing is shown in the form of a graph on the right side. If you take, for example, week 8, we are saying that in week 8, my company has retired assets worth over $10 million. So this is a huge number. What I want to do is get into the details and understand what were these assets and why did I retire so many assets. Now, the first retirement detail report gives me a breakdown of the retirement information by assets. So the huge number of 10 million, what we saw in the previous screen, came there because of the retirements of all these assets. We show basic asset attribute information like asset number, the description, what was the retirement type, and the costs that are tied to retirement, like what was the cost that the asset was retired at, what were the units retired, and what was the net book value when the asset was retired. The second report on this page is cost retired by retirement type. Now, I know that I've retired my asset, but why did I retire, or what was the retirement type? Typical retirement types could be either I sold my assets, or the asset got damaged, or the asset got stolen. So for whatever reason, I had to write off my asset. So this gives me a breakdown by retirement type. So the 10 million retirements that I have done for a particular period, the majority of that is because I had to sell my assets for some reason. So I get an understanding of, okay, for my business purpose, I had to sell my assets, and that is the reason why they are recognized as retirements in my system. So the retirement page basically gives more information on the retirements and the further details of retirements. Let's get back to the overview page. All right. So with this, we conclude the demo, and we saw how specific reports are built, keeping in mind specific requirements from customer, or which would apply to, I would say, any customer irrespective of the line of business that they are into. Let's get back to the presentation. Okay, we have an info sheet available on the website. This gives the basic information of the product that we have built and some contact points in the company who can help you answer any further questions if you have. So I would suggest everybody to go to the website and download the sheet and just go through the sheet, because it gives a lot of information about the fixed assets analytics product that we have built. With that, I think we can open it up for Q&A. Jeremiah?
Thanks, Pavan. At this point in our session, we will open up the forum for any questions from the attendees. Once again, questions can be asked through the chat window located in your GoToWebinar control module. The first question is, can we analyze asset information by location?
Yes. If we are talking about location as a key flex field that gets captured in the source system, we can analyze the information, asset information by location. What you saw in the demo dashboards were just a sample parameters or prompts that we've created on top. We can definitely analyze the asset information by location. To keep it simple, what we could do is we could give location as a prompt, where say you select a particular state or a particular country in the prompt, and the report just shows you information for the location that you have selected. So to answer the question, yes, you can analyze asset information by location.
Excellent. Does fixed asset analytics integrate with non-Oracle databases like SQL Server, DB2, Teradata, etc.?
Yes, it works perfectly fine with non-Oracle databases. We have built a universal adapter. What a universal adapter does is it's not just Oracle E-Business Suite as a source. It could be any third-party system or any other ERP system or in fact any other non-Oracle database. It integrates with that system and it helps us extract the data. So the product works perfectly fine for non-Oracle databases and non-EBS source systems too.
And so this is a follow-up question from Joan. So does that mean fixed asset analytics will integrate with other ERP systems like PeopleSoft and JD Edwards?
Yes, exactly. It can work with any non-EBS source system too, like a PeopleSoft or a JD Edwards. The product has been tested and it works fine, mainly because of the universal adapter that I was talking about, which plugs and plays with any other source system too.
This question is from John. Does fixed asset analytics include group assets? He'd like to know because his company uses group assets for residential gas pipelines and other large commercial industrial oil pipelines. So does fixed
Sure.
asset analytics include group assets?
Okay. Now, group assets, if it is implemented as provided by Oracle, that is just out of the box or standard solution, it works perfectly fine with our product. But if there are any specific customizations to group assets or the way group assets are created in the source system, we will have to analyze that specific customization and take it on a case-to-case basis. But from a product supporting group assets, yes, it works fine with group assets.
Is there a cap on the number of assets the application will support, i.e., will it support more than 1 million assets?
It can support as many assets that are in the source system. There is no cap. All we do is extract all the information that is there in the source system and help customers analyze this more from a BI or an analytical point of view. So there is no cap on the number of assets supported by this product.
Okay. How do you plan to support the upgrade of fixed asset analytics when Oracle upgrades their BI applications?
We have built this product keeping in mind the best practices recommended by Oracle for extensions. So let's say a customer who's using BI apps, say other financial modules like AR, AP, GL, buys this product, and if Oracle upgrades the BI apps version, so our product is built in such a way that the integration will be seamless on the fixed assets side too, because we've followed all the best practices that Oracle recommends. So if customers upgrading BI apps, we can definitely upgrade or support whatever is the changes that are coming from Oracle's upgrade. So that upgrade should not be a problem at all.
Question. Does fixed asset analytics integrate with other modules within the pre-built Oracle BI applications?
Yes, it does. So fixed assets very well integrates with modules like Oracle Payables or Procurement or Projects or General Ledger. If you can recollect the overview slide that I was talking about, the information from payables and projects flow into fixed assets. Just going back to my previous examples, if you are recognizing or if the company is using Oracle projects to recognize the projects that they are doing, as a part of the integration, fixed assets can handle the asset information that is coming from projects. Let's say if there are non-project related assets that are being procured through the purchase orders or requisitions, which sends information to payables, even that information can be handled in fixed assets. So the flow of procurement, procure to pay, where data comes from procurement modules to payables, is also handled. Finally, the information from fixed assets goes into general ledger. So it very well integrates with projects, procurement, payables, general ledger, all the other modules that are interfaced in customer's ERP system.
Okay, great. So that concludes the Q&A portion of the event. If you want to learn more about fixed asset analytics, please reach out to us through kpipartners.com, and we will have a member of our customer care team assist you with any questions you may have. As mentioned earlier, if you want to find out more about KPI Partners or how we can assist your organization with Oracle Business Intelligence or Oracle EPM, please follow us on Twitter at KPI Partners or contact us through our website at kpipartners.com. Thank you to everyone for joining us on today's webinar, and thank you to Pavan for presenting. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.